Hi and welcome to Fabric Bias. It is August 2025 and I am working on another t-shirt project here. So this was my last t-shirt, and what I did here, I'll link the video above and below, was I took out, I made a seam right down the two sides here, the center of the two sides ish, and then I took in the sides, and I'm planning on doing something similar with this next project, but not quite. Hopefully it will work out. So I will again link this video above below, and so you can see that one. This is my shirt. I bought this shirt and I bought the heather purple at the same time. And then I have, what I'm working on though is actually this purple and this yellow, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this purple and this yellow and I'm going to cut them both the same, and then I'm going to put the purple together with the yellow and the yellow together with the purple. So I'll have two purple and yellow shirts. I only need really one. I only want to have one, but hey, you know, why waste? So I'm going to have two. So what I did with this shirt was, see, I had already clipped all this and I was too lazy to unclip it. And I realized, oh, I need to actually try this on. So I took this one that I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with yet. I might do something, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet. Haven't come up with an idea. But I used it to try on, so it's inside out. I tried it on to decide kind of where I wanted to get my cuts in for this one, because I could tell, you know, using this one somewhat, but I did a lot of modifications on this one, so I kind of wanted to look at this first to see if I was, you know, I'm a little more comfortable going from here. Although the best thing to do would have been to unclip this and try this one on and do my markings on here. So what I did determine was where I want this, the center here of the shoulder that I want to start taking out from here, and I took that marking and I marked it on here, and then I also marked it on the other side over here, and then I folded the shirt together and matched up my seams to make sure that those markings were in the same spot together, and they were. I'm like, what? How's it so far off? To make sure I had those in the same spot. And then I did the same thing down at the bottom. I actually measured in, kind of looked at where this was, but I did remember that I was going to be about 6 inches in here when I did the heather purple. So I looked at that and I was like, okay, that will work. And so I marked in 6 from here and 6 from here, and then I did the same thing. I folded it in half at the seams, making sure I matched up well, I don't have a seam, but where I think the half is, and I kind of matched it up and made sure that my sides marked. Ooh, my cats are talking. So that's Stella talking to my dog. So Loki is my dog. All right, so the other piece that I wanted was, I wanted to make sure I didn't come too far here in here, because I don't want it to hit where it might get a little uncomfortable in coming down the center. I don't want a seam right where it might not, you know, be that comfortable, to put it nicely. So so I marked here to know where that would, you know, where I wanted to actually put a seam. And then I measured from here to here. I went up 2 inches here, measured from here to here, and I marked on my shirt that distance, a little bit shorter on that one, because I actually straightened this out. Where I curved this one, I straightened this one out. So hopefully that'll work okay. And then I also marked on here. So what I want to do is take some of the fabric out of the shoulder, because the shoulder just is it drops too far. I had to go larger with the t-shirt than that would fit for me, because one, I like it longer, and the larger it is, the longer it gets. And because I'm taking some out of it, I need something, you know, I need it to be big enough to fit when I'm done taking pieces out of it. So that makes the shoulder too big. So I did determine on the heather purple shirt, which is right here, I keep pointing to, that I took out about 1.5 inches. And so that's what I've determined I'm going to take out of this one. I know also that I could go up to 2 inches, so I have some play here. If I screw up and take too much, well, I'll still have a little wiggle room there. But I am going to go with taking out 1 inch. But down here, I don't want to take 1 inch out. I want to take out as little as possible, because I don't want it to be snug when I wear it on that. I just don't like them to be tight. I like them to be fitted, but not tight. And I also like to wear my short sleeves in the wintertime. It gets cold, so I like to layer with a long sleeve underneath it, and I want some room to put another t-shirt underneath. So when I was doing this one, I was actually trying it on with a t-shirt on over another t-shirt, so that I could have that extra room. Let me get this guy out of the way. So what I want to do, because I want more here taken out and as little as possible here taken out, is I'm going to V from here. And I, again, don't know what I'm doing. This is what I'm you know, I don't sew clothes. What I've done is marked from my center where I want to take it out, 1/2 inch on either side, and that'll give me an inch here, the fabric that I'm going to take out, but it'll give me an 1.5 inches because then I'm going to have 1/4 inch seams on either side. It'll give me the 1.5 inches that I need to shrink this up. That's my theory. I thought it all the way through, and I think that's correct. We'll see when I'm done, but that'll give me, yeah, that 1.5 inches here as well. So hopefully, because I don't want to go short on it, and well, it will be short, but you know, it's a t-shirt. If I wear it a little slouchy, it'll be fine. So what I've done is I've come down, and I also figured out on my little model, which again should have done it on here, where I wanted to start where widening as I come up from the bottom. This from the bottom down here at the base all the way up to here is just going to be a cut, and I'll lose 1/2 inch through here, which is the minimum I can lose unless I do an 1/8 inch seam, which I don't want to do. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam. So I'll lose a 1/4 inch on each side of the cut from here, and then I want to widen here to lose that what'll end up being 3/4 inch on each side because of the seam allowance. So this is where I want to start widening that cut. So I've marked here. I'm going to finish marking this line all the way down to meet the line that I've determined on the bottom here, and then from here I'll do a V from this point to this point. So, and then I'm going to match that on the other side. And then I'm going to be brave because I've already done this with the Heather shirt. I'm going to be brave, and I'm actually not going to pin it and try it on. I'm just going to cut and see how it goes on that. So cross your fingers for me. It's not a super expensive project, but you know, I hate wasting money, and I mean, I'll do something else with it, I think, when I'm done. I don't know. I don't do a lot with knit, so we'll see. Oh, the other problem I have right now is they're not the same length. My purple shirt is a little bit longer than my yellow, and it's just by one. If I fold it over, it actually is the right length, but I'm not going to fix that. I thought, oh, fix that first, you know, and then before I go too far, but I'm not going to fix that. I'm going to wait until I got the two pieces, the yellow and the purple, together, and then I'm going to, before, I just won't stitch when I come down to the bottom of the shirt here. I won't stitch. I'll stop stitching a little further up so that I can play with that and see how it goes. So I'm going to get it together and almost have it stitched all the way to the bottom, and then look at the hem, because then I'll know I'm actually matching it to the yellow for sure. Although, I mean, I can pretty much tell. I could probably do it ahead of time, but I'm not going to. All right, so what I'm doing right now, I'm going to finish marking this line down to, curved down to this 6 inches here. That'll make it wider here. I'm gonna have to play with the lines on this one, and I might actually have to pin this and try it on now that I'm looking at it, because look at how far apart I am from here to here. So it's gonna have to curve. And when I'm done stitching everything back together, I am gonna take a chunk out of here, probably. Oh, I marked this right here so you can see. It was hard for me to see where my seam was here, so I put a chalk mark so that when I was measuring with my ruler, I could see that I was measuring from the right location. But okay, that's my other cat and my dog. They're all fussing, and that's my other cat ruining my couch. So I'm gonna go get her in a second, get her to stop. Oh no, she's on my luggage. Oh, okay, I'll be back in a flash. Okay, so here are my markings. Now, you can see here, it's kind of, I don't know if it shows up on camera, but it's a little wet over here because my original markings was slightly off. When I did this triangle, you know, triangles can be different shapes. They kind of shift. And it was way kind of wonky. So I went ahead and corrected that and looked, and to make sure my width, because it looked really narrow versus this one. And yeah, so I wanted to correct that. And so what I ended up doing was going, okay, about here, this is an inch here. I want to be about an inch right over here as well. And then kind of looking down from there. And I think I got it pretty close to okay, not perfect, and that's okay. I measured here, and I'm 3 inches over here, but I'm 3 1/4 inches here. I don't think anybody's going to notice. So I'm gonna go with that. And then I just, from this point here, I just drew straight lines down to here. And the reason I'm going in here, and I'm okay with that, is this, I'm going to be taking this in a little bit right here. So that's going to draw this over a little bit anyway, I think. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be okay. So anyway, all my marks are done. I've got my t-shirts. I'm going to just triple check them and make sure everything is lined up nice, because I'm going to cut them just like this. I'm going to scooch this. Actually, I'll probably turn it this way so I can do it in one cut. So I'm going to cut them just like that. So I'm going to cut through all those layers at the same time. So I want to make sure I don't have any wrinkles in them. So I'm going to go do that, and I will be back in a second. All right, so there it is, all clipped together, the one arm onto here. And what I did was make sure I matched this little ridge here and this little ridge seam, the seam here and here. That's matched, and I'm going to start here and sew down this way, and then here and sew down this way, I think, because if it shifts, I'm hoping if it shifts this way, it'll shift the same way this way, and it'll come out. Also made sure, now I know this purple shirt was longer than the yellow shirt, so I did make sure that my, down here at the bottom, my yellow shirt is lining up on both sides in the same spot against where the purple shirt is. So there that is. I do just want to check. That should be it. Should be good to go. Because I do know I put the right side together because I just pulled them apart. I didn't mix my pieces up, and I'm not putting the wrong, like the left side of the yellow shirt onto the right side of the purple. I pulled them together really carefully, and I clipped it quite a bit to try to hold it in place. Knit's not so fun. I mean, this is not the direction of the stretch. This is, so it shouldn't be too bad, but I'm just going to straight stitch all the way down it. And then I'll put the other side straight stitch on it, and then I'll give it a go and see what I did and see how it looks. And then I'll go back and do my zigzag and everything like that, because I'm going to zigzag the edges. I have a serger, but I haven't figured out how to use it yet, so there's that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch this one. I'm going to get the other side clipped on. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is my first shirt, and I have this sewn on, and here I am using just white thread at this point, which you can see really well on the purple, and not so much on the yellow. And when you pull it apart, you really can't see that white. In a little bit, I probably will switch to yellow and purple, just for preference on that. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then yellow and purple when I do these parts here. Or I might actually just leave this white because it's close enough. And then rather than moving to the other side of this shirt, I wanted to put this sleeve on this second shirt so I don't get my sleeves mixed up. I don't know if it matters, but it matters to me. I want to make sure I get the right side on of each shirt. So I'm working both the, let's see, what is this? Left side? Both left sides of both shirts on that. So this is clipped in place. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this, and then I'm going to do the same on the opposite side of both shirts with these at that point. So, all right, we'll be back in a flash. Okay, so the shirts are sewn together here, and I've also went through and I fixed the hem. Ooh, I didn't do a very good job on that one, but I fixed the hem because the purple was longer than the yellow. My cat's back. And so what I have now is I need to go through and stitch that little bit at the bottom closed, and then I want to go back through and I want to zigzag this here, so I don't have my little raw rolly edges here. I'm going to go ahead and zigzag over that, and to do that one I'm going to change to yellow and purple thread on that one. So I'm going to do that for both these shirts. I did try them on. They do still fit. They look kind of funky, but they look okay on that. I feel like it's missing something, but I did meet the goals that I set for the shirt. So, all right, back in a flash after I do my zigzagging and stuff. All right, so I have on both shirts, I went and I zigzagged my seams on the inside here, all the way down and all the way around both shirts. And I also, while I was at it, I stitched down, and I don't think you can see it in this purple, but I used purple here, and maybe you'll be able to see that, but I did actually stitch down all the way front and back down the length, stitching down and holding this piece to one side towards the purple on both of them. So on this one it went this way towards the purple, and on this one I went this way towards the purple. And then I figured out what was bugging me is I know they're not the right colors, but I'm starting to feel like a hot dog on a stick. I think that's what it was called, where they had the striped red and I think it was red and yellow shirts. So I'm gonna do something a little bit different because, yeah, that's gonna bug me a lot. So I have the two shirts, and at first I was thinking, oh, just, use my silhouette and do an iron on here, but I still think that would kind of bug me, and I have an idea of what I would want for that. But instead, what I think I'm gonna do is checkerboard this just one time. So I'm gonna find a place, I'm going to put it on inside out, and I'm going to mark it and decide where I want to cut off. And I'm just going to take and cut these both in half and then sew them reverse back together again. So there'll be kind of a checkerboard effect. And hopefully that will get rid of that whole feel for me of, yeah, not that there's anything wrong with hot dog on a stick. I don't even know if they're still around. And I'm not even sure if I'm calling them the right name, because I haven't been to a mall and, yeah, well, anyway. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I really like this color scheme though. So I'm gonna, before I do any adjusting on the sides here, because I still want to take out some, there's always a little bit too much fabric right here for me. I like it to come in a little bit. And so before I do any of that, I'm gonna try to figure out where am I gonna slice this? Where's the best place? Because I don't want it to hit the wrong spot and look, make me look wider than it should. And that may not work out either, but I'm going to figure it out on that. So I'm going to go ahead and slice, and then put it back together again. So, all right, I'll be back in a flash. Okay, so I have my shoulders clipped so that everything is lined up. My stripes here are lined up on both shirts, and my shoulders match and are clipped here. I clipped up here right up under the sleeves so that they're matched. And I also went onto the bottom of the shirt and made sure everything was lined up here. And then right where I'm going to cut, which I just kind of messed up a little bit, right where I've cut, I actually made sure that that was lined up as well. But I don't think I can mess this up. Well, I hope not. So I was thinking about cutting right about here. Kind of waffling on whether or not that's too low. So I think I'm going to go, so again, I'm going to put a seam here. So it'll be a 1/4 inch offset on each side for the seam allowance. So I think I'm actually going to go make sure my sleeves are lined up here, so I know I'm cutting straight across. Ooh, I could cut it at an angle. Wonder what that would do. Okay, well, let me think this through for a second. I don't have to go straight across, do I? I could go at an angle. I might like that better. Wonder what that would do. And then this would come in. Okay, give me a second to think about that. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm definitely going to go at an angle. That's for sure. I'm just trying to decide where. So originally I was going to come across straight and then switch them, but it's a bit blocky, which is okay. It does change the effect of the striping, and that was the goal. So then I decided to switch to an angle, and then the decision was, well, how? So if I go underneath the sleeve here to the bottom corner of the shirt here, that would work. My sleeve colors would stay the same and I would have this angle, but I just kind of feel like, no, it's not really what I want. What I'm thinking about doing is coming from up here at the top shoulder and going down to the bottom corner. My problem with that, which I think I'm going to just have to figure out a way to overcome, because this is kind of the way I feel like I want it the most, is up here at the top, and I'm hoping that's coming up on camera. There, right there. Go from there across to the very bottom. That's kind of the way I feel like it'll work. But what I'll end up with is a yellow and a purple sleeve on each shirt, except opposite of each other. And then this kind of diagonal look all the way across, which I kind of think I'm going to like. So I'm going to figure out how to deal with the bulk up here think it'll be okay. I might have to do some picking. But I think I'd rather do that than go from a lower angle down here. And I mean, I looked at different angles. Maybe go on something like that. It's possible too. I mean, there's a possibility right there. So clearly I need to think about it a little bit more. But going from this corner here to here, I still have some bulk issues here, but probably not as bad as if taking it right from the middle. So I could do that. All right, I'm either going to do this one from here to here, or I'm going to do from here to the bottom corner on that. So up here to the bottom corner, or from the corner of the sleeve here to somewhere midway over here. All right, still thinking. Be right back. Okay, so I've got everything marked. I'm kind of thinking I probably wanted to go this way instead of this way, but now I'm all set up and taped, so I'm just going to leave it because I keep just going to overthink this. I could be here for hours. But what I've done is I put some painter's tape across here because for a couple reasons. First of all, my ruler, I'm going to have to slide it, which that's not a big deal on that. But I was also thinking, I kind of remember my sister-in-law, she quilts, saying something about that she uses this painter's tape and she can sew right over it. So that's what I'm going to do here, because I want to make sure. I'm a little concerned about whether or not it will get stretched out, and the tape here will keep it from stretching as I try to put it all back together again. And I think that'll make it easier for me. So I actually have it taped all the way through, hopefully in the right spots. You can't see that one, but it's there. I don't know. I'm a little worried. And now I really kind of want to reverse it and go this way. So yeah, that would be involving all 4 pieces of tape, but I don't want to do 2 cuts. I just want to do the one, but I feel like I want to go this direction. All right, back in a flash. Okay, it's done. Cut apart, so I'm going to take this piece carefully, set it aside over here. This is going to match with this. So I'll turn this inside out, or somehow figure out how to get that matched up with this, so I can sew it on there. And that shouldn't be too hard. And this piece is going to go over here with this one. So I need to get right sides together here. So I probably will turn, since this is the smaller piece, I'll probably turn this one inside out and fit that together with that inside. Okay, so I'm going to get to pinning this or clipping this, and I'll be back. Okay, so I have them clipped together. I do have an issue at the end here where it doesn't quite meet. There's a gap here. And so I've clipped this to stop here, and I'm pretty sure what that is that here I'm going to have an inseam amount. I have to count that in here, but I'm going to deal with that after. So I'm going to stop sewing short here so I can have a little room to play, and hopefully that'll be okay, because I don't want to rip knit on that. For the most part, my colors have matched from one piece to the other on one of them. On the other one, there's a gap, and that's going to be okay on it. So they're clipped. I'm going to stitch all the way around, leaving the ends a bit open here so I can figure out how to deal with that. And I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to do there too. But I'm going to go stitch these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the first one is sewn together, and the painter's tape does not come off easy once it's stitched into place. Here, so I spent a good deal of time just trying to get it off the front. I didn't bother off the back. It does say it's water soluble, so hopefully it will wash out, but I did want to make sure to get as much out of the front as possible in case it leaves a sticky residue. But yeah, that was definitely a bust on that one. So on the second shirt, I just took it all the way off. I haven't stitched it. I took it off, and I've gone with the sewing tape on both sides, or not on both sides, well, all the way around. And I'm going to sew it with that, and then I don't have to deal with trying to pick out the painter's tape. Kind of hoped it would work, but it didn't, at least not for this application. So, all right, so that's taped together. I'm going to go ahead and stitch all the way around it. Again, I still have the gap at the, wherever it is, the bottom here. that I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with. And so I'm going to leave some space here. I'm going to go ahead and put some clips in before I start sewing, so I can leave a gap here so I can figure out what I'm going to do with it. I want to leave myself plenty of room so I can always stitch the rest of it afterwards. All right, back to sewing. And real quick before I start sewing, this is what it looks like now, at least the one with the painter's tape. On that, again, I still have to fix this part right down here where it meets and figure out how I'm going to put that together. I started to flip it over. My son was like, it's going to look like you're the court jester. And I was like, oh, it does. And then I flipped it all the way through and I'm like, no. It does have a gestury type feel to it, but I do like it on that one. This is way better than the straight stripes at any rate. So yeah, it doesn't meet here on that. And a little overlap there, but I did match everything the right way, so I'm not sure what. And so we'll see what the other one ends up looking like in just a minute. Now this one, what I'm going to do, because it has all the painter's tape, I picked out, it took me forever to pick the painter's tape out of the inside here, tracked on the outside. And so what I'm going to try to do, now that I've got it really reduced, I'm going to try to throw it in the wash. So it shouldn't fray at all because this is knit. And I'm going to go ahead and take the clips out of here. And before I do anything else, I don't want to do any zigzagging over this fresh seam that I did with the painter's tape still in there, because then I'll never get it out. So I'm going to do throw it in the wash first and see how it goes, and then go from there. All right, back in a flash. Okay, so the other shirt's in the dryer right now, and so I've decided I'm going to go ahead and try to get this one finished while that one's dry. And so let me show you what I've done here. So the first thing was I did want to take in a little bit off the sleeves and off the side, and so I drew that in. What I was like, I tried it on, and then I decided how much I wanted to take off, and then I drew it in place, and then I pinned it on both sides here. And I don't know if you can see the chalk lines on camera, but once I pinned it in place, I tried it on. I didn't like it. It felt a little bit too tight, and it's a t-shirt. I want it to be loose and comfortable. So I reduced it quite a bit. It was about 1 3/4 of an inch from the bottom, from the seam, edge of the seam up. And I went with about 3/4 of an inch instead. So I redrew it out and sewed that shorter. And I also decided that when I tried it on, I cut in way too high, and so I came down just a little bit further and curved it in. And so I went ahead and I was like, okay, that's good, and I stitched it. And then when I stitched it, I looked at it, and on the outside, it kind of gathers right there, all the excess, and I'm like, oh, it's actually not too bad. It doesn't look so bad, but really not the look I was looking for. So I came back in and I decided, okay, I'm going to bring it in and I'm going to curve around and make a seam here, and hopefully it won't gather as much. Well, my first shot at it, I don't know what I was thinking. I went really close, and I was like, okay, that didn't do anything. So I went back and I did a second seam line here at 1/4 of an inch, and that turned out much better on this one. So it's not, I always have to look for it because it's almost disappeared. So it kind of, there's a little bit of a gather here, but not much. It's not as noticeable. And at any rate, I don't want to mess with it because I'm afraid I'll ruin it. So I'm leaving that like that. On this side, what problem I had was with here where I connected the two fabrics, there was a gap. And I had to do something with that gap. And I was like, okay, well, I could just sew a really wide seam over here, but I didn't want to reduce the base anymore through here. I mean, it fits fine, but I wanted it to be loose, so I thought, oh, we'll just leave it open. I mean, with as much of a gap as I had enough room to fold each side over this 1/4 of an inch, and then again 1/4 of an inch. So I have my seams here, my hems are with no exposed seams because I rolled it. I could roll it. And so when I did this one, and that came out, and I liked it. It looks okay. I don't know, I'll have to try it on when it's all done, make sure it's not looking, bad in any way or unacceptable. And so when I did this side, I came down and did it, and I came around and I ended it here. So I came back here and stitched my 1/4 inch seam here, and that was perfect because it came straight down, and I was able to connect to right here And that's going to get me the ability to cut that off right there. Because I was trying to figure out how am I going to stitch this together and have it look nice and straight, because it was poofy. It was poofy. I don't know how to say that. Poofing? That wasn't working out because it was, I mean, it looks so much further up. So at this point, I'll be able to cut that off. And that's where I'm at right now, is I need to cut off all that excess material at this point and then zigzag the edges. Now for right here on this one, I'm not going to cut that. I would just be slicing it open pretty much, and why bother with that on that? That would just give me another opportunity to get a hole. So I'll just leave that. Here I am going to have to cut here because that is a lot of bulk, and so I will cut that off, and I'll zigzag down here, and I'll probably just zigzag all the way up this, but I won't cut this portion right here because there's no point, and then I'll just zigzag all the way around on it. So that's what I'm going to do right now with this one, and hopefully soon enough, at any rate, the other shirt will be dry, and I'll start working on that one after this. So I'll be back in a flash. Okay, so this one's done. It was kind of a, I don't know, kind of saddlebagging. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Anyway, it would stick out like this, and stick out like, so I went back in and kind of smoothed it out a little bit, stitched it and played with it on both sides. So it doesn't look quite even, but I think it'll look okay on. I don't know, I'll try it in a little bit on that, but I do like how this came out. This is way better than, even though it's kind of odd, a little gapping here in the colors and stuff like that. I think that's okay. And I like it a lot better than how it looked with just the straight lines down. I'm not quite sure. I think I must have shifted it or something when I went to put it in place, because I've got the same space here. Well, I don't, but I think I should have rotated it a little bit when I stitched it on, but I kind of like this odd looking thing. So anyway, I'm happy with it. It's not perfect, but that's okay. It will work. And yeah, so now I just need to get the other one out of the dryer and work on it and get it finished, and hopefully the painter's tape will be gone out of it. And yeah, I don't know what I did. I must have shifted a little bit. I'm not sure, but that's okay. All right, back in a flash. So here is that second shirt, the other shirt here, and I left these little pieces here so you could see them. But that's kind of what's coming out of the seam. This is the inside here, and I just kind of opened it up and looked to see what was left. Now, once I had washed it, I actually opened the washer when it was in the rinse cycle, and I was able to pretty much rip off strips of the painter's tape, but there was some left. This is what it was coming out of it here. And the only reason I focused on getting some of it out of the inside here is that it might have been stuck through the seam to a piece that was on the outside. And so, you know, in here it doesn't really matter, those itty bitty pieces here, because I'm going to stitch this closed and they'll be stuck at the seam. No one will ever see them. But on this side, that's going to be a different issue, because this side, if it's stuck in a seam, it's actually sticking out where you can see it. So I did kind of, you can see a little bit here, it was all over my fingers. It's still a little sticky, but definitely not as sticky as it was on that. And I kind of just went with my finger and kind of flicked at the seam. Not at the top, because I know I didn't put the tape all the way to the top. There, I missed a little piece there. And I can get a little bit out of each part as I kind of do it. And I think I got most of it here. So I'm not too worried about it. I don't see anything obvious. There's that hole I've got to fix. So I'm not really worried about it. I think as it gets worn and washed, that'll just naturally start flaking off, because this sticky will be going away. So there's a piece right there. Right there. On that. So I'm not going to pick that off. Oh, I got it. Oh. On that. So again, not really that noticeable. Or actually, I don't think it's noticeable at all. So I think it's going to be okay. On that. So I'm going to move on to the next step here and stop picking at blue tape. There's one right there. I'll get that out in a little bit. I don't get it off right now. Got it right now. It's a little bit addictive when it's stuck to my fingernail. So I'm going to move on to the next step on this shirt, which is going to be to zigzag those seams. Actually, no, I think what I'm going to do instead is the same thing I did on this one. I've got to take care of where that hole is at the bottom. Let me see, slash through right here. So here's this hole at the bottom where it didn't meet because of, you know, the difference in having taken up a 1/4 inch here and a 1/4 inch here. It doesn't quite all the way meet here. That's my theory at any rate. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I did on the other shirt, matching up my edges here and making sure everything is nicely lined up on the side and nothing underneath it. Straighten that out a little bit. I can see it's crooked. There. Okay, so I feel with my fingers that that's straight. That's lined up. See on the edge that that's lined up. Okay, and I'm going to cut here. Let me show you. Scissors, and I'm just going to cut along here. And then I'm going to fold it over twice. And the way it went easy to do this is I used tape. So I just took, this is 1/4 inch double-sided sewing tape, and I just took it and lined it right along the edge there. And then cut it off. And once it's on there good and solid, just take that off. And you can fold it right over on itself. It's kind of hard to see in purple, sorry. Let's see if I turn that on. Does that make it any better? Okay, it's folded over on itself, and then you just fold it over right back over on itself and roll it over at a 1/4 inch. So that's going to take care of that. And this time I'm not taping again. You could tape it again, but I'm using the tape not only to keep it from stretching, but also as a guide, and I only need it once to do that. So this time around I'm just going to clip it, and then I'll be able to stitch down it in place. There we go. And then I do the same on the other side here, just not quite as easy because now I've got those clips in the way. But I'm going to run a piece of tape right along that edge. So this time I'm going to measure it out and put it on because it's already rolling on me. That way I can push down. It's sticking. Okay, so sometimes best made plans don't work out, but right on the edge. Right on the edge. Yeah, it looks like I cut it just a little bit too long, but I'm going to get it right there on the edge. Peel that off because it's already coming off. There. And now I just have to be careful about making sure that's a 1/4 inch when I fold it over because some of it rolled. I'm going to roll it like that. A 1/4 inch. Hard to see, I know, in the purple. And then over one more time. It's crooked at the bottom. Gone crooked at the bottom. Okay, there. Okay. So I'll stitch along those two, and then I'll deal with this little bit. I have to close the rest of this up here. And then when I go to make my side seams in here, to adjust here, I'll be able to get that straightened out. Because right now, if you look at it, try to do it on the yellow side. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you, but let's see. It comes out and goes like this. Well, no, I don't know if I'm in camera. It comes out like this. Oh, you can see how it pokes out. So I'm going to have to adjust it so that this right here comes down straight. But I haven't sewn this seam yet. So when I sew this seam, I'll catch that. And again, I still have to sew the last part of this together because I stayed away from the edge, not sure what I was going to do with it. I still have to sew this and this together. So it'll come out, and you can see the point now. If I kind of hold it there, it goes whoop, and I need to get rid of that. But that's not a problem because that's going to happen when I do the adjustment on this part of the seam. So right now, stitch these, and then I want to zigzag this portion here all the way through. I guess I could have done a cover stitch. My machine does have a cover stitch, but not this time, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, there, stitch those down, zigzag this big seam where it went here, and then start working on tailoring in the sides on that. But for right now, I'm going to go to bed. It's late. It's time for me to go to bed, and yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, I will be back in a flash. Ta-da! And they're done, both of them. So the last thing I did, I can't remember the last thing I did on the video, but I finished up the second shirt. But then when I did that, I also went in and all of these seams that I've created here, I went back in and I stitched them flat down. So you probably can't see it on here, but if I flatten to this direction, that's not the right seam, right here. If I flattened in towards the purple, then I used purple, and I did all the purple, and then I came back, and because if you don't, I tried to go to the dark, but if I wanted to do that on this side, I would have to twist my seam, and I didn't want to do that. So on the yellow part, I went and I switched out to yellow. I did in a couple of cases, let me see if I can find one, right there. I overstitched just a little bit into the other color. I was trying really careful not to do that, but I did that in a couple cases, and I'm not going to rip those out because I'm afraid I'll rip a hole in here into the t-shirt, and I don't want to do that after all of that work. So there is the back of that shirt, and yeah, I think with it stitched down, also this lies much nicer here than it was before. So there's the other one, and I can see right here I stitched over just a little bit, and again, I'm not going to rip that out. It's unfortunate that it's on the front, but it'll probably be me that notices that more than anybody else. Hopefully. There's the back, or the bottom, and the back. And then, so I am happy it came out nice. Here's the slit on the side. That, I mean, not perfect, but I got some threads to trim there, I just noticed. But it came out. So there it is. I'm happy with it. I like it on it. I'm going to wear them both at some point, I'm sure. So there you go. I hope you like it. I hope that wherever and whenever you're at, you're having a great time, and thanks for watching.